What's up guys, my name is Chase Farrow and as always I'm here in my garage with this car and the preparation for LS Fest continues. Now today there's a couple of things to do. The main one is improving the airflow on the front bumper of the car, or not specifically on the front bumper but rather behind the front bumper to help increase airflow to the radiator. So if you look here, I've got this guy. Now this one was custom made for me by a gentleman in Poland. And I'll get into the details of that in a minute, but the idea was that it increases airflow inside the front bumper. But the problem is I still have this radiator shroud right here. Now normally this radiator shroud isn't a problem. In fact, normally the radiator shroud has a purpose, but on my car it no longer has a purpose anymore, as with this front lip I had to get rid of my front air dam. I do still have some of the front air dam, but along the sides and stuff, a lot of that's kind of gone now. Sorry about the abrupt cut, but I made a mistake. In the process of trying to weed out some of the trash takes, I accidentally deleted the next clip, which was the part where I explained exactly what it was I was doing and why I was doing it. So to give you a quick rundown, effectively what I'm doing is I'm going to cut and modify the radiator shroud as it is no longer fulfilling its original purpose. In fact, with the front lip and the vented filler plate, it's actually causing an obstruction to airflow now. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take the front bumper off and I'm going to start cutting a section of the radiator shroud out. That way, air can go straight through the filler plate and go straight to the radiator. So without further ado, let's get to that. So the bumper is off. So now what the objective is to cut this section here as I kind of showed you before. Now what I do want to make sure though is obviously I still need to be able to mount the bumper. So I'm not actually going to just cut straight down. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of cut across. And that's actually one of the reasons that I didn't want to just get rid of the whole thing altogether. I still like being able to mount my bumper down there. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get started on that. Alright, so now that is all cut out, and as you can see down here, you can see that that is now much more open and there's a direct path to the radiator. The air is now going to be able to go straight through where my factory filler plate was, and it's going to be able to go straight up there to the radiator, and that should help significantly in keeping the car cool while I'm on the track. I will also say, I think it's probably also going to go a long way towards helping temperatures on the road too. Because if you own one of these, then you may have noticed that different road compositions tend to make things a little bit tricky on your temperatures. I've noticed when I'm going down the highway, especially with the front lip. Now, if you don't have a front lip or anything like that on there, you probably don't have this issue. But when I'm going down the highway, especially on concrete, it has a harder time keeping the temperatures down even with the fan on. So this, I think, will seriously go a long way in helping remedy that issue. And if you do ever plan on tracking your car, I highly recommend, if you're gonna run a front lip, do the filler plate mod, whether you do it yourself or you cut your factory one or you do find someone who can make you one. Highly recommend it and do this because, well, it'll make the car happy, and if the car's happy, you're happy. So that's where we're at for now. There are a couple other things I do want to talk about in this video, but let me real quick throw this front bumper back on and then we'll get to that.
1 hour later.
So I got the front bumper back on. It was a little bit of a pain, but I got everything done and it looks like this is all going to work out extremely well for the cooling. So now what we're going to do though is we are going to test the new cooling modification that I did on the front end, and we're also going to be taking the car back down to Rob, who is going to now, after regrouping, get the car all tinted and hopefully have a much easier time than he did before. That's it, so let's hop in the car and let's get going. All right, so I just got here to Tint Star in Plano to meet up with Rob. Real quick before I go in, you got to check this thing out. So Rob has this super cool Land Cruiser. I think it's a LC200 is what they call the chassis on these things. Now look at those wheels. I mean, dude, this thing is sick. We actually had Rob on I think he was our 4th episode of Tailpipe Talk, which was a show, kind of a podcast slash web show that I did with Jason Marasio from Texas Show Promoters. And the dude is car guy through and through, that's for sure. That's actually, so right there is his LC200, and then back over there is his OBS, which is also pretty cool. But yeah, so great dude, super down to earth. And I'm also, you know, a real big fan of supporting local businesses and small businesses. So let's get in there, let's get started, and let's get this thing tinted, because now that I've got my AC working, I really want to get that tint done so we can keep the inside of my car a bit cooler. So let's get to it.
What you see here is, you see this Corvette, 2-door hardtop, 2002, you got a 2-piecer. So what the guy did was, you had a piece of vinyl cut the last time. So when I removed it, this top piece was vinyl and this bottom piece was tint. The reason why is the difficulty level in this car, it makes it a lot easier.
Is it because everything I've read and pretty much everything that everyone that I've talked to said, like, had to do the vinyl up top and then tint underneath, because from what I understand, it was like the matrix dots from the defroster and everything.
Yeah, but that's why they do that. But I got my Ace here, I came prepared except for the address, except for where we're going to be. But
yeah,
I've had this on my mind ever since the day that it was here, and now we're back, and we're going to get this thing done, and we're going to get it done to perfection.
Man, this machine is really cool. So do you have like a resource online where you...
Yeah, it pulls patterns off of the database, and it's got everything from your newer cars to you know, Bel Air, Chevy Bel Air.
Yeah, I imagine at this point there's probably not a car that hasn't been tinted. So
yeah, I mean, sometimes with the really new stuff, it takes a little while to get. Like, I don't know if I have a Rivian yet or anything like that, but you know, for most of the stuff that we're gonna be using, we're good. So here we go. We got our pattern cut out. You know what I mean? And what we're gonna do is, normally, I would go and start trimming a lot of this down, but I'm not gonna trim a lot of it down because of the shape of this window. I'm gonna just kind of do a little bit.
It's good to have the excess material.
Exactly, so you can work with it, right? So that's what that is. Patterns there. This is the full one.
I don't know if it's really showing up very well on camera, but so you can see it just
the defroster cut out right here.
That is actually really cool.
Yeah. So yeah, and you got that too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, we got a couple of ideas for how we're gonna attack this. As far as difficulty level, the only thing that probably trumps this in the Corvette world is the C6 with the
hatch, how it like
the hatch
rounds out at the bottom.
Yeah, Chevrolet for this time period, they really wanted to make things difficult for tinners.
Well, they wanted to make things difficult for everyone.
For everybody, including yourself.
Oh yeah.
As the owner, Lucy's not nice to anybody, but
no.
Nor should she be, right, girl?
Alright, so Rob just finished up the tint on the car, and it looks great. I mean, it looks awesome. I know this thing was a bit of a pain, so I definitely appreciate all the time that Rob took doing it. This looks really good, and I think it's going to go a long way toward, well, helping keep the inside of this car cool. Huge shout out to Rob. It looks fantastic, and that's one more thing checked off the list. So to the rest of it. All right, I already feel, and this could just be a, a placebo effect, I don't know, but I feel like the AC is cooling down a little bit quicker. Not necessarily like the air is getting colder faster, but more of the inside of the car is cooling down a little bit quicker. Rob's a good dude. If you don't already, you should be following him on Instagram. And if you ever need tint, he's the guy to go to. I mean, super professional, and he's very particular about making sure that he does a good job. So, and he stands by his work. So, yeah, definitely 100% recommend Rob. We're 1 week away from LS Fest. I'm really looking forward to that video. We're just about ready. The only thing that we're lacking now is I just need to do the front brakes, swap out the rotors and pads on the front end of this car. We're also doing the brakes and remounting the front lip on the Camaro. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to doing some racing, and really looking forward to making that video for you guys to see. So in the meantime, hope you liked the video. Hope it was informative or helpful in some way. And if it wasn't that, I hope it was at least entertaining. And if it wasn't that, I don't know what to tell you. So yeah, that's it. See y'all later.